I'm Africah Harrigan for TV. The Committee on Economic Development, Agriculture, and Planning hosted the Virgin Islands Marine Industry Forum at the University of the Virgin Islands to identify possible problems facing the industry, as well as revenue-generating solutions. As chair of the committee, why was it important to host this forum today?
It is extremely important to bring stakeholders in common together. We often talk about breaking silos. The only way we can break down silos is by bringing all parties together that need to be together. So we brought together members of the executive branch, and especially those members who serve on the Marine Council that the governor established a few years ago, I believe 2 years ago or so. And then we have our committee, and then we have members of the marine industry. Those are the ones who matter because they have to tell us what they think is going wrong. Can we bring legislative relief? Because we can sit in our offices and try to figure it out, but why do so? The marine industry is right here. They can tell us.
Some of the topics discussed are the state of the marine industry, an economic snapshot, federal and local laws as they impact the marine economy, thinking outside the box, short and long-range solutions for the marine industry, and job training and needed marine infrastructure.
HOVENZA has had a very big impact on what we call our net export services because as I was trying to insinuate in my in a budget wrap-up with Senator Nelson, who asked about the question about exports, HOVENZA's major output is refined petroleum products. But even though back in 2007 they earned about $14 billion, at the same time they had to import crude oil in order to process it. And that the difference between what they import and what they export, what economists call operating surplus or value added, that's what's here in the Virgin Islands. That's the employment, that's the taxes, that's the contributions, that's the things that profits that HOVENZA earns that it stays here and it's circulating. That's the employment aspect of it. Since the closure, one of the reasons why our GDP has gone down from about $5 billion in 2007 to about $3.7 billion is that component, is the export component that has gone down tremendously. So that's the $1.5 billion that we're actually talking about. And the last component is G, government. It's a very, very vital portion of our economy, very, very vital. But government reflects what the general economy is doing. If the purchases are actually constant that we're seeing, you know, revenues are going to actually stay almost constant. But if our external sector, as we're seeing, is going down, we're losing income. That reduces our overall income. When that happens, our tax revenues go down, and government expenditures reflects that. So a major contribution of the reason why our economy has gone down is because we need to start producing more in export services in terms of tourism, in terms of the marine sector. And the second thing is that we have to be a lot more efficient in the way that we produce our products and also consume going forward.
The Virgin Islands, being located where it is in this part of the Caribbean, allows us to have vessels moving very easily to us from Europe, South America, Central America through the canal, and vice versa. Vessels from here can move outward, which means that we have a unique asset in that location. And we haven't really utilized that or tapped that. It's part of our, it's big, and yet it's never been on our radar screen. Probably because we're usually in crisis mode, and so we're usually reactively responding to our circumstances versus proactively making a long-term plan. And we all get that, we understand that, but it's at this point, and with the convening of this forum, it's time to really revisit these structural issues so we can do one important thing. And that is, with the loss of HOVENZA, we've suffered a huge loss in GDP. The question now is, where can we get $1.5 billion of GDP, at what cost to our community, and try to rebuild our finances so we have the revenues to work on our incarcerated people, our youth, our infrastructure, and all the other issues. And that's what's driving my discussion.
Another topic that was discussed was the solutions to generate revenues for the dock at Cruise Bay St. John. The subject came up of the lack of staff to continue to man the Cruise Bay dock, but you came up with a really viable solution to that. Can you share it with us?
Yes, Africa, I think that what we want to do is respond to people's desire to come over to St. John in the evenings after 5 p.m. and dock up. And one way of dealing with that, if we cannot afford to pay someone to collect the fees, is to have essentially parking spaces and some sort of automated system. The cameras are everywhere these days to make sure that there's compliance, and you could simply have a box or a machine to drop it in. There would be slips to pull into, you tie up, you pay your fee and go enjoy a restaurant or an evening in Cruise Bay or anywhere on St. John, and then you've paid your money, the Port Authority is happy, and we haven't expended any great amount of money. We've in fact made more money. So I think that this is something that they're going to look into, and I'm very pleased that they were positive in their acceptance of this as a possible solution to a problem.
Once they look into it, how long do you think it will take before the plan actually comes into fruition?
Well, it seems to me that it would be possible to do it in approximately 6 months.
I agree with the existing marina facilities, looking at what we currently have and maximizing the potential of those, whether it's with renovation or adding adding additional markets to those. Our project is unique. Throughout the territory, typically you'll see the marinas are geared to one market. Yacht Haven Grand is primarily mega yacht. American Yacht Harbor has a lot of sport fish. Since we would be the only marina facility, the first marina facility on the island of St. John, through our studies, we've addressed the existing markets that are there and designed a project that first answers the needs of local boaters, second answers the needs for some of these charter boats that we're talking about having lost to the BVI, having the ability to dock with us. Also, we have sport fish area, since it is such a great market for us, and also the mega yacht sector. The mega yacht market has more than doubled in the last decade, and it continues to grow. And so we want to capture as much of this as what we can.
We need to empower the private sector expertise. Those of us that have been out there driving the boats, diving in the water, working on the private sector, we know what works for our businesses. We need to bring this in. We're struggling right now with dive moorings. Most of the dive destinations in the world won't allow you to anchor. Most of our dive sites down here don't have moorings. You have to anchor. It's counter to our efforts. And educate about the critical balance needed. And Rich, thank you very much for this statement, for allowing me to remember that my important thing is to be at the table. And so keep coming back, keep adding to it. You get frustrated, take a deep breath, go take a vacation, come back, keep working at it.
We have an abundance of resources out there, as was determined today. Our presenters have said, listen, we need assets. We have the assets. We just have to maximize on those assets. And by having persons who can communicate with each other and say, listen, I have this, we can do it this way. Oh no, I've had it work this way and it doesn't work this way, we can do it this way. That's what matters. You know, we can't just do it individually. It has to be members of both groups, meaning the public and private, the government and the private sector working together to achieve it.
Thank you for tuning in to Legit's coverage of the Virgin Islands Marine Industry Forum held at the University of the Virgin Islands. I'm Africah Harrigan for Legit TV.